Good morning, everyone. Special welcome to Mayor Moko. Good to see you up in the far north, where it all happens. And to council staff, welcome. And Felicity, thank you very much for this morning. Good to see you, firefighter. Yeah. Mike, could you open us with a cup of tea?
Tēnā tātou, kia tau I mō ngā mana ki tango te wāhi ngaro ki runga I a tātou. Mino tātou. E pā tēnei mātou punonga I koro piko nei ki mui tō arawara. Kia pā mai tō ringa ki runga I a tātou I tēnei wā. Nā tātou ki roto ki tēnei runga. E pā tēnei anō tino e atu ki a koe manaki hia a tātou whānau. A hira rui te kapua kauri. Manaki hia anō a tātou whānau e mō. Tēnei tui mai atu ki a koe, me whakatahania a tātou whapāro, kia pai te otinga o tēnei hui. Anō nei, ki ruto I tō ingoa. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. Do we have any apologies, please? Thank you. I'll move that those apologies be accepted. Can I have a second? Second. All in favour? Aye. Moving on. We have speakers and deputations today. First of all, I'd like to call up Graham. Want to go, Graham? I have Paul Graham McPherson to the tap, please. Oh, good to see you, Graham.
For those, I will introduce myself a bit. I'm chair of the FNDC Incorporated, and I'm here today to discuss the future of the FNDC fire station and the board. And I'd like to start off, if you don't mind, by sharing a couple of photos. I'm here because of photos you'll see, and started in 1974. People at the Rangipoita community had a vision about safety and community spirit. We didn't wait for a handout, and we worked together with the District Council and built the fire station ourselves. 4 years later, we built the hall with some funds for Lotto, ASB and the Club Charity. We also ran community events to raise money and use our own labour. This building was built by Rangipoita, for Rangipoita and the surrounding area. The property owners recently formed Rangipoita Community Incorporated as a registered incorporated legal entity with a functioning committee, memberships and a set of rules. At the same time, it's fair to say that Rangipoita has changed since the community law was taken over by FNDC for fire and emergency service. There are now more permanent and semi-permanent retirees who are the fastest growing segment of the community, with needs that can be met through community ownership of the board. There was then what we call with our end, the FENS era. Over time, the lease moved, penny lease moved to FENS. We don't know exactly how it's happened, but we do know the results. For years, we've been treated like guests in our own home. We were restricted to a few meetings a year, no social events, no community life, half our village has been under lock and key. Teams is now in the process of moving into the new fire station at top of the as a result of that, there will be no fire engine at Hiku. And I think I'd like to say that's a good thing. The reason is that the way the population and everything, 99% of the fire anywhere in that area, and including Rangiputa, the first fire engine is from Hiku because there's more people and they're closer to the fire engine. And things have said that they've got, they're going to use the Rangiputa fire engine, something where it can be actually used better. The property manager at Things, Dennis Cooper, has phoned me. We've had a couple of chats, and he let me know that Things is aiming to move all the gear into the new Whakatipi fire station in June. In case of any changes and that things can not go to date, Dennis has said that Things will hold on to the lease until November this year, 2026. From our perspective, this is a perfect moment to correct a historical detail. We're asking that the building lease now revert back to the Rangiputa community incorporated, so the people who built it finally use it. In terms of the vision for this, this building isn't just a shed and a hall. It's been the front line of our community activities and safety for decades. We want to ensure it remains the front line of our community's future. Since Stan has already been using the site, the infrastructure is there. It is more cost effective for the council to hand over the penny lease to an organised local group than to let the building sit vacant and risk vacancy. Our aim is to have a community hub, a venue for local meetings, workshop activities, such as yoga classes, which we used to have, and social gatherings that we have successfully managed in the past election. Rangiputa Community Incorporated is ready to manage the power, maintenance, and insurance. We will have a manager to handle the bookings and ensure that all protocols are in place. The hall will also remain as the civil defence designated emergency muster point. So that will be inside where the fire engines used to be. We have people in the community who have the background and skills to help with sponsorship, which will help us cover costs. Just finishing, on behalf of the Rangiputa community, we are asking the Te Hiku Community Board to advocate for us with the council to help us ensure that this asset, developed and built by the community's vision, energy, and sweat over 40 years, comes back to the community, was always attempted for. Like other communities, Rangiputa needs its own local hub for resilience and social health. The fact that the community literally built the station and the hall with their own hands and fundraising means we aren't asking for a gift, we're asking for a return for the community asset. Building isn't just a shed and a hall. We want to ensure it remains the front line of our community's future. This in mind, I understand that the Te Hiku Community Board is now having some of its meetings at venues in its constituency, and it would be great to host you at the Rangiputa Hall in the near future. In terms of the photos, top there, that's Sandra Upton. I don't know how old that bulldozer was when they were doing it. Peter Upton in the middle there, Peter Upton on the right, and his father Dad, his dad, Murray Kemp, who used to run the hotel. They did a lot of work on the fire station. Peter Upton did a lot of work in this. He he is a lifelong member of the fire brigade. And last year he was 80, and he wasn't allowed to have his 80th birthday in the hall. I'm now looking at someone else, Alan Bond. He's 90. On a corner there, across by the motel. He's fighting cancer, and the son was running and asked if he can have his 90th birthday in the hall. And we've been told no, because there's alcohol involved. So I'd say thank you for your time. What I'd like to know, as I say, to help us, the Hiku to help with the council as a whole, in terms of beliefs and everything, how can we go about it? And what's our next steps?
Thank you, Graham. Are there any questions of Graham, please?
Oh, no, Graham, thanks for coming to talk to us. And I know the hall was a big community asset, and I'm all for those who make an effect to the community, and I know how much hard effort we put into getting that hall there. So, and it's funny you mention about meetings coming around the venues. We're just talking about having one at Greenwood in the near future, so be a great opportunity to come out there and have our meeting.
You're allowed.
Interesting listening to you. So your community built it, paid for it, fundraised, stood it up, and then council shaved leaf. How did that happen? How did it come over to council?
So it's on council land. Sorry.
Fundraising for the building.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And the second question, that's fine. Marley, I know. What's the sense of the local couple?
Yeah.
Around there, are they supportive? They've been involved?
Look, basically, I can see you spoken to Nina.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I see that.
Yeah. So Nina and I, we've gone with recently, and someone else tried to really put her into walk. So that, and then some people have it's not. They said, "Oh, be careful about what you want." I said, "What do you need?" "Oh, it's cost." So and but then I said, "So we lost some. We had lost some. Yeah. We used to have the most amazing New Year's Eve parties. And people who play guitar, the whole music thing. Never any issues. Cut off at 12:30. All the rubbish bins would come in with plastic bags, everything, and it's all gone. And as everyone knows, that if you do something wrong, you're in trouble. So I think people are always.
That's interesting. I was trying to figure out what was the relationship of council. So it's on council then, but community but building up. Yeah. All right. And you got output when things took it over?
We didn't get, there's no budget. I don't know why. I just don't know.
Now you come to you.
Yes, yeah. We can't do anything about it. Yeah. But they're not very good use to it.
You like best option.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming today. Would you have any information about your incorporated society to share with the board? Because there needs to be a separate legal entity, etc., for the lease to pass to, and also we need to lodge a formal request with staff, particularly our property staff, so we can action next steps. So Beverly down there will get all your details.
Spoken on the phone.
Yeah, and if you can give the incorporated society information, because this is really timely. It's not just your amazing community hall, but we've got Lake Hall here at the moment, and we have an existing resolution of the board to pass that back to the community once the renovations are done.
Okay.
And it really, the process probably needs to be templated so other communities can have that opportunity as well.
And that's one thing, Felicity, that's helpful for us. You know, Greenwood has always had a committee. And we've got bigger and bigger children us to Helen before coming in. Well, that's now 7. I think this week decided, and getting the community head around the whole incorporated society was a bit tough as well, because there's rules. And so we've now put in our second annual council everything considered business, and it's made it anyone else in here looking to do the thing. It was hard to get people's head around it. It seemed like it's all very more admin. People would like it, but it's mainly for something like this. I love it. So,
Just one more, Grant. That was in terms of the incorporation document, but also could you include your community plan with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we did that 3 months ago. Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call Jackie Saunders and Leslie Lucas. Funding application address, please.
We have
Yeah.
you can just speak up so that.
Yeah.
Morena, I'm Leslie Lucas, Jackie Sanders, and together we are the creators and deliverers of Sabre Northland. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Sabre Northland, we are in year 3. It's an industry-driven regional initiative. It was originally funded by the Northland Inc. Regional Events Fund, and it's now a proven programme supporting hospitality, producers, tourism and visitor economy across key types. Last year in 2025, we had 54 events across 46 venues, 3,382 attendees, 21 of our events sold out, and 2,253 Sabre Northland Challenge dishes sold. The audience insights were 79% of local attendees, so local attending local, 22% visitors from outside of Northland, 26% booked accommodation, and over half spent over $100 plus per person. This demonstrates that Sabre Northland is driving off-peak economy activity in October. It is a month-long food and beverage event, while celebrating Northland's unique food story. Our focus for Te Hiku is to expand the venue participation, encourage more local producers and hospitality businesses to participate, and to enable participation through events all through the Sabre Northland Challenge. Our goals are to showcase Far North as a coastal and cultural food identity, build regional pride, support local and to be ambassadors for your district, increase visitation to the Far North, and ensure any economic benefit lands directly with you here. So why are we asking for a 3-year commitment? We're at the start of the new council term, a natural point to align with the long-term strategy. Events require planning certainty and momentum to grow. The multi-year support allows us to secure better suppliers and media agreements, attract larger sponsors, and activate our marketing earlier and more effectively. As an example, we have secured a 3-year partnership with Air New Zealand for 2026 to 2028, and this demonstrates that it's a national confidence in the programme. The context for FNDC is that the Finals District Council does not currently have a central event fund, unlike Whangarei District Council. So therefore, our regional programmes like Save the Northland must apply through community board funding. And therefore, we feel your support is critical to enable us to do the event locally here. What the funding supports that we're applying for from Hiku is practical infrastructure and promotion. Printed programme booklets, we have some with us which will show you, posters, billboards, signage, flags for information hubs, and contribution to the overall marketing campaign. We feel that these tools increase the visibility, promote participation, and make the programme accessible for both locals and visitors. Hand you over to Jackie.
Thank you. Morning. So I was just going to talk a little bit more about the regional identity because that's really what the heart of Save the Northland is and what it has been since the beginning. The festival was developed with the industry over 5 years of workshops and planning, and that clear direction was to tell Te Tokoro's story through food and beverage. And so this is reflecting our culture, our history, our environment, our produce, our manaakitanga. So what we're seeing now, sort of as we come into year 3, is and it was really strong last year, seeing just more sourcing of like local produce and really strong chef-producer relationships, and greater use of Indigenous plants and ingredients and in menus that are being presented as part of the challenge. We're having events in culturally significant locations, meet the maker experiences. You get to meet the winemakers and the growers and the chefs, and really increased engagement with Māori-led businesses. And that engagement has, sort of with Māori-led businesses and producers really has been quite a strong focus for Save the Northland, because many have been involved very strongly from the very beginning and the development of the festival, but we can see more are emerging, and they're scaling up. People are entering the hospitality sector. We're seeing ownership of cafes and restaurants, like young couples taking over cafes and food businesses. So it's really cool. Like, our role is to stay connected with all these industry developments of how things are moving, and just encourage participation in the programme, provide support where businesses need it. Not everybody's at the same stage of being able to plan an event so we're more than just a marketing campaign and a promotional activity. We're there to support the businesses when they need it. And so we are working very closely with Northland Inc. and Wharaki, Māori Business Network, Hospitality New Zealand, the district councils, and local networks and business associations, markets and such. Before we answer any questions, we'd love to introduce Daniel, Hiku and Awanui, just as one of our key people, stakeholders that's been involved in planning to talk about it from your perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Daniel. As a Peekaboo, Awanui, the Awanui Hotel, work for Beachcomber Lodge, and I'm involved since the first meeting for Save the Northland. It was just an idea we met in Bahia at the time, 5 or 6 years ago, and to create, the food story of the Far North. And I think now we really started out in the 3rd season, and it's amazing to see, that we all get connected together. I think I tried also always from Wanganui, book the speech and Kelvin to get them actually involved. So they started last year, so I could be part of Save the Northland. And a Peekaboo, the last 2 years we had, and producers' money, so 5 courses, and the producers came to the table as well. They were all local producers, and then to see them on each table and talk with them through. And it's a great way to connect the farmers, the producers, the restaurants, the winemakers, the coffee makers, all onto one table. That should be sent that message out to Auckland that we can cook and that we can produce some amazing products. And I think we're really proud of what we're doing. So, yeah. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions, Ben? I've just got one. Looking at your application and your information, you've got a large advertising requirement there, i.e. posters, flags, etc. Is that sourced locally or is it a national? Is it done on a national basis or is it sourced locally?
So everything's designed locally, and then some of the printing is cheaper to do from suppliers in Auckland, but we look at suppliers all the time and engage with them. So not everything, most of us.
Right. Ben?
I was going to say that I think an excellent one last year. The landing must have thank you very much.
So can I just ask, sorry, trigger a bit, so can I just ask, besides Hiku, who else is involved in, just so I've got a clearer picture up here in the panel? Yeah.
Jesse's on the waterfront, Dance and Vector, and Typer Resort, we've just come here today and we see this is amazing. We want to get here involved.
So we're going to go straight down.
We are going straight down next to us. And Daniel is taking us around to new places and new cafes that are emerging so that we can get involved with them straight from the beginning. And that's the way that they can be involved without doing the events. It's just to get a dish on the menu and be in the Save Northland Challenge. And that can be food trucks. So we've got food trucks, we've got cafes, we've got fish and chip shops, anything that is a local restaurant that uses local ingredients.
But it grew big time, like from the first year, it was just like, I think, me involved in businesses. And now it's like spread out to 8 or 9 businesses already in the second year. That's where we just have to grow it step by step. That's the ability to get involved.
And sorry, just one question is, if I'm a local user, is there a cost to me to come on board, or do I pay to be featured? Or?
So there's a registration fee. To be in the Save Northland Challenge, there's a registration if you want to put an event in. We try to keep the registration fees low, so $70, so that it's open to everybody. And then if you want to be in the brochure, that's our biggest activation into Northland and beyond.
So it's $200 if you're going to be on the brochure as well. But we're doing 15,000 those this year, and so distributions across Auckland and Northland last year, and we're going to Wellington with our distribution as well this year because we've got the New Zealand partnership for 3 years, which we were chosen as one event. They chose 20 regional events. Due to a fantastic technicality, we had 2 of those events because we have 2 airports, so we get a little bit extra, which means we can actually promote and do stuff internationally as well as.
Sorry again, I'm talking. Is it only for like pitches that are registered and stuff like that? You know, I just heard the keyword Manaki Tano. What if it was an option for marae? Yeah, to enter, you know. They're probably the best bread makers. Maybe that's part of the strategy as well. Yeah.
No more questions? We'll be considering the application further on in the meeting and we'll check it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. So the floor.
Thank you.
Yes, you're fine. Yeah. Might have to just speak up a little bit.
That would be. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hannah Curtis Silva, and I'm here this morning with gratitude and pleasure to represent the Collaborative Team Project Working Group for Cooper's Beach Bowling Club for the Covered Green Initiative. 2 years ago, perhaps more, I spoke this fantastic group of people and presented the very beginnings of a vision, a concept and an idea, and was very grateful for a extremely supportive financial input which allowed us to achieve the very first pinnacle beginning of the project, which was a geotech survey. And since then, I wanted to just refer to back here to acknowledge with gratitude the opportunity to present the updated project summary for the Covered Green Initiative. It's been 2.5 years since the first meeting. 3 of us sat around the table with an idea and a vision. Fast forward to today, and I bring into this space a robust, well-researched and well-crafted project presentation document. I have some digital references that I've sent through to Beverly, but I also have here some information packs with the same information in them that I, if I may pass one down to Bill, please. This one I'll refer to today, but leave your witness, and I'll just put them here as I go through. Everything that I talk about there is represented in the information pack. So the document, these documents show alignment and strategic intent and a great outcome for all. The Collaborative Team Project Working Group has worked tirelessly across all sectors of this project to create an all-weather covered facility, sporting facility at Coopers Beach Bowling Club. The vision, heart and narrative of the Covered Green Initiative has always been expansive, embracing our wider farming communities and creating a destination hub supporting an inclusive sporting environment and an all-weather protected facility. We recognise the unique opportunity at Coopers Beach Bowling Club to build something amazing that can really herald change and growth throughout Douglas Bay and the surrounding communities. These opportunities are expanded on in the documentation I'm sharing with you today. Coopers Beach Bowling Club as an entity, we own our own facility and we own all our surrounding land and car parks. So we are a unit that is clear and clean to progress forward with this process. Since the beginning, the Collaborative Team Project Working Group has been working with a company called Shade Systems that have produced these digital images, the latest ones, and a process. Over 2.5 years, we have referred back to refine, to talk, to speak, to discuss, to expand, to produce 15, 20 times. This is the latest collection of images that I wish to share with you, which gives you just an insight into what we're looking at in terms of the facility. So thank you, Bill. The next document that I will leave with you is our business case funding document. Now, the target that is stipulated in this business case funding document, the target is north. So this document was written written uniquely for a submission for full funding. The climate, as we move through this process, is always one that's going to change. We need to pivot along the way to achieve what we want to achieve, which is the end result, which is for the greater good of all. So the information in this document is relevant, pertinent, dates. It's scaled to the tightest accountability in terms of costing, and to the truth of the narratives all the way through about where we sit in our wish to bring this project into the community forum. In terms of accountability out to iwi, we have sat with 4 different representatives from the 4 different who are around our region and spoken directly to them, and they have indicated in the heart and soul of the way that they chose to indicate that they are supportive of everything that we are doing and that they are waiting to be embraced in our move forward. So that was very, very important. We have in our collection of wonderful people and ideas, we have a local carver, Billy Harrison, who is looking to design and carve 3 magnificent poles to cover the entranceway to our facility to represent the walk with our whole doubtless space runner to bring this forward. We have reached out because it is a sporting club that relates to bowls. To a lot of people, that is a kind of an area that I need to really push through and say, let us look wider than old retired people playing bowls, because those days are gone. They are over. New Zealand, Bowls New Zealand, and there is a support letter from Bowls New Zealand to support this project, which is included in this documentation. There is also a support letter from a member of the board of Bowls New Zealand, speaking to a question that I put directly to Bowls New Zealand about what their take on national sporting events held under a covered facility. What was their narrative about that? They have come back, and it's in these documents, they have come back without promising, because that's not what I was asking. They have come back and said they will definitely be assessing the entire facility to bring national sporting events to our region. Now, in terms of community financial gain, not just for Cooper's Beach, Monganui, Taipa, for the whole of Te Tai Tokerau, it is an astounding platform for us to stand on together. We're working tirelessly with Tamariki, with Rangatahi Bowls. I have this document to leave with you from Bowls New Zealand. Is the handbook on how to walk into the environment with Tamariki and Rangatahi and start bringing these children through to a sport that is so astounding. From 7 to 97, you can be engaged in your entire life. This is a non-contact environment. This is a safe environment. This supports on all levels, all kinds of physicality. This is inclusive of every kind of human. There is no point at which the answer is no. We have supportive documentation from other bowling clubs to this narrative, which is not easy to get because it's a club. In the documentation, I have also included special general meeting minutes where the vote was taken by membership. Majority vote to move this project forward to completion, which is important because it speaks to accountability, and the handbook. Beverly, did you want to get that slide through the digital image and the slide through to be able to put it on the big screen?
Bev, please, we're just about running out of time. Thank you. We have run out of time.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. No, that's all good. It is, I did submit it, so it's available probably in a minute. To you to see.
Do you have any questions? I think the information is comprehensive, so Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much, Bill. I'll leave this as well.
How many registered members at the club?
At Cooper's Beach, so we have a registered membership of around about 230. Not all of them are bowlers, because we have a social membership as well,
Yes.
and we have darts and pool and tonk. So we already have sort of a collaboration of sporting events at the club. The registered bowlers, we're probably looking in the vicinity of 69, 70 registered bowlers today.
Awesome.
Sure.
Hannah, Trevor Beatson. I just had a question. I saw the total spend is it estimated 3.39 million?
Yep.
So how much would you be seeking from the community board if we were to consider an application? And
That's really, I love that.
what are you asking from us?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then primarily, with a project of this enormity, the amount of weight that collaboration carries is huge. So my heart reaches out to you for a collaborative assessment of this and a supportive narrative to go with our funding applications for you. Yes.
Yeah, we'll support you 100%. Oh, yeah, on that.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Oh, please.
It wouldn't have if it hadn't been. So I do send a deep gratitude to Adele for her vision.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Adele is very Thank you very much for your time.
Sure, thank you.
Kia ora.
Adele, sorry, just a quick question to you. In terms, cricket's got T20, etc., shortened versions, more exciting versions. Does bowls have something similar?
Hybrid version.
Impact game?
I'll tell you what, if you, after the first game, you're hooked.
Okay.
Writing the support letter.
Yeah,
The chair.
yeah. We'll sit down together.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I cover everything.
Thank you very much. And please, I'm available to call. My phone number is there, available to call on any level if you require anything further from me.
Kia ora. How do I beat you?
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
And just before I forget, welcome to other staff members, and especially you. Good to see you. We have one more deputation, and I'd like to welcome Mayor Morkel to the floor. Wow.
Trying to read page on my screen. Hey, I heard to everyone, esteemed colleagues of the Hiku Community Board, I humbly ask you not to ask for any money. But I offer collaborative insights into our relationship between council and community so that we can use the money that we get in the way. I want to make this a normal thing, and we can call it normal. I plan on doing this one more time this year. But I thought it might be nice for me to actually come to you rather than expecting you to come to me or you to see Bill and hundred values like it doesn't go two ways. So I've got a quick little presentation just to give you a thing. So I'm going to just cover off just the Morgan uniform updates, local government New Zealand Zone 1 meetings upcoming. Give a quick call about community board reports, give a dog control update, and then just some general updates. I'll be here for your meeting or in and out, but afterwards, this is probably going to be more one way just for awareness, but afterwards, if you guys stick around for what we're doing at the same time, and back to the councillor for you to Hiku, what councillor can do with the students as well. Just a quick updates on the mural forum. So I'm the new chair of our mural forum for this training. Once I can convince one of my colleagues to take on the job as the only returning member
to the community this time, they put me in a position. Northern Water done well, is still producing along with Whangarei and Paikora. We've got the off-ramp for whether or not we are a commitment agreement checkpoint will come to our council this April on that. Resource management reform at the Northern River Forum, we have endorsed a proposal that will go to each council to have a joint committee to work on what that looks like, because resource management reform under both the Labour government and also under the national government are looking at setting a single regional plan rather than our individual district plans. So we are going to have a paper come to us in April looking to endorse that setup with representatives from across the councils. Local government reform, we also leaving out the Minister, Mr. Watts, Minister for Local Government. And we know that put forward that proposal for simplifying local government, proposal submission. We put our submission through. We as a council also had a couple of down the office in January, again over Waitangi. The Minister holds us up as one of the regions in New Zealand where we do have very good regional collaboration. And so it's open to us having bespoke legislation for almost like for our region, over us just having to follow whatever the legislation say. Some regions will not want plans together, do not want to speak together and don't have a strong regional identity like we do. Part of the proposal that came in April is to follow the local rules on our model and have an elected member steering group across the councils with different members. I've put in within that ensuring that because we're the only council with community boards, that we have community watch representation with that steering group as well, so everyone to watch. We also had a paper most recently on blog, it's already pretty much on touching on its own slide, and all those updates are coming to council in April, so we'll keep you in the loop. Zone 1, in the previous term, it was frustrating that for some reason we just didn't include community board members to zone meetings. As community board members, you are all zone members for local government as well. Our first meeting is next Thursday. We are the host. It goes around all the councils for hosting. One of the things that we want to try and tighten up is the remits process. So maybe remits are a way for us to put up something important to us, important to the country, but maybe specifically affecting us, and put it up to an AGM so all councils can vote on it. And then local government picks it up and goes, this is something important for the sector that we could actually look at one of the proposed rules. I've had in the past was around security system payouts. Now, because we collapsed so well before we got to 18, the remuneration authority changed its determination before it even needed to go to agreement. And now, and this is just informed report, you are all allowed to get security systems for your homes to keep you safe in your roles. And I encourage you to look into that new council public safety is really important. But I want you to have to think about what things do you think we need to advocate on that potentially legislative change, and could a remit be the way to achieve that? We'll discuss that at the zone meeting. We'll get a strategic focus update for the organisation post-election. We'll also get updates on our National Council member for the zone, which is me, Henriqua, our which is Councillor Adam Luna, and our young elected member, and I haven't actually asked you if I can request an update. Our young elected member is Councillor Felicity Boyd for her committee. We also know that CBEC is a committee of National Council, the Community Board Executive Committee. We have a zone 1 reach with only council of community boards, that means it's far more for us. In the past, we've had 2. I know the information forms that went out. I did see that member Jane Hindle put her name out. I don't know if the community board did it. I'm still in discussions with, we didn't vote on that in our last zone meeting. So we'll follow up with that, but there's that CB link into as well. Community board calls. So this is, I don't know how to say it clearly, but this is taken from this for the community board by both companies here at the CBD committee. It's a framework for how councils can work better with their community. And it's what I want to use as the foundation for our community boards. And the framework aims to There's a guide called Best Practice Council Community Board Relationships, and then also there's a set of models, voicing advice and delivery leadership. So different models that you can look at. So you know, it's like, would you like to buy just the vacuum, or would you like to get the attachments, or do you want to have the charging battery combo? That's going to be the framework. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but I'll send these slides and framework itself to you afterwards. So where are the boards? And this is a space where I don't want it to be one of those things that we just put off in the far horizon. It's something that we will look at in the future for how we work together. And any time community boards come to council, we'll go, let's wait till we have a community board accord. So I'm coming to you to say actually what is it going to look like. And there's a few questions there, like how do we want to work together, how much shared decision making do we want, and things we don't want to work together, who does what, and how many community boards to shape decisions early, who will and won't do what. And what will help us stay aligned and move right together over time? How do we know that we're on track? How do we measure success? These are questions to answer today, the question for all of us to percolate and bring together for something meaningful that can become the final district council to have a community board relationship accord from Australia. So workshopping, I think workshopping at community board level itself, at council level and together will be very important. And we sort of democracy services to set our workshop times, but something that we need to think about as well. I would like to, personally, I would like to, I think it's on the 100-day plan, but I'd like to see that done by June, by July, we roll into our new directive. Dog control update. So, been on the paper quite a bit, especially for dogs, especially for your area. We had a paper go up to the Mural Forum. We are going to be the lead council for a regional collaboration, specifically around what we need to do to change the Dog Control Act. We've got our own dog control Bible review this year, and it will go through Councillor Kelly Strickland, Councillor Anne George, to Hiku Committee for Strategy, Policy and Regulation. That happened before I got on council, and we were still feeling the hangover when I got onto council. It was a huge piece of work. Also a little bit polarising for our community, so something that we all want to take leadership over with our community this year. We also had the Ahipara community petition from Tyrone Middle come to our council meeting last Thursday. We requested, thanks to Councillor Bauhi, shared an amendment requesting a report back on actually practical options we can do. But what can we actually do? When thinking about this, I'm going to establish a Mural task force for dog control. I think it's one of those issues that's big in my own communities, but that means to put some extra money into wrapping around what we can do. Look at what Making Group has done in establishing a Mural task force for Central City Revitalisation for Whangarei. City people get to thinking about city things. Well, we love up here in the far north, and one of the things that I'm consistently hearing as a partner of communities on my own whānau is dog control and what I can do about it. So this is just me thinking right now, and I'll be back out to talk to you more about this. But possible other communities than Ahipara, and also Mōrewa, the two communities right now that I'm hearing the most from. And I'm on the next couple of weeks. One of the things that Tyrone brought up in his petition to us was wanting how do we as a community get involved or to educate or things like that. We've also got an education program that's starting up in April. So I've got all the staff that we actually started out in our school. And of course, we've got a good connection there with New Monkey Andrew Pepper, who was also one of the signatories to the petition. But one of the things that surprised Tyrone was the fact that our animal management officers patrol Ahipara twice a day. So how do we wrap comms around what we are actually doing, how the community can access things that we've already had outside of the changes we need to do your old dog control act. And I think the task force will be a way that we can see some meaningful change and we take on meaningful learnings from that. And if we follow the communities and we can wrap that up and throw that out for the whole family. So we want to keep thoughts on that later on, or we push through that as well. general updates, just very quickly, Office of the Net update. So I'm our Executive Officer and Comms Advisor for the Office of the Net. When I talk about all this money that we can drive through at a regional level or for our district, for our communities, the Office of the Net support staff that are working around it to make it actually happen. So I just wanted to give you some heads up around the cool things that we can do by having a team that we get to pull from, which we normally set them up and pull across to look at bespoke things that benefit our district as a whole. As a part of that, our comms advisor, Diana, would like to come back to our April community board meetings, and as we look at the community board course discussion, actually do some profiling around our community boards themselves and getting engaged in a part of what communication could look like. So we'll speak more on that in the coming weeks. News Task Force for Jobs update very quickly. We have a contract with News Task Force for Jobs National and the Ministry of Social Development. We get money to help get rangatahi into Mahi. The farmers is the third highest youth unemployment rate per capita in the country. We're beaten by, I think it's for Hawaii and Channel Islands. Now, Channel Islands, I think they have one rangatahi out of employment out of 500 means that that's just like a ratio wise way in the sky. We've got around 1,016 to 24-year-olds in the final education, employment or training out of a total population of 16 to 24-year-olds in 8,000. So that means that we've got 1 in 8. And that's here in the final on education, employment and training. That's why we as a council are part of this program to use localism to help any employers with can get them to work. We are engaged in our contract for this financial year to see 27 applicants. We have 11 to go, which means using my mathematics hands, we have and then 16, 15, 16. We've received 16 rangatahi into May just in this financial year. That's huge. That's 16 families that are there on this program. We've reached the threshold to get our next lot of funding, which is $110,000 to achieve that, which is really cool. Now, a part of our employer appreciation and engagement, the other member on this is Councillor Alhapuni Allen. We'll be looking to go around all of our community board areas with our News Task Force for Jobs coordinator. So they say thanks to the employers that have been a part of the program today. In the past, I've had just a single like kaitahi in chambers, but this time around we're going to get around the board. And I thought it might be something that we could tack on to our community board days, maybe at the end, so that way you can come along and be involved as well. Still thinking about that. That's something to watch as well. We're in disaster relief fund update. Now, this was Bay of Islands and Whangarua counties that were more severely affected, but you may have some of your fringe whānau, for example, say a Kinamau. So as farmers that got visited and seen, people are going to spend time out, which is right on the water. But you have whānau that you know have been affected by the January storms that hit us, please still send them through and encourage them to apply to our area disaster relief fund. Our staff will be able to still see what's going on and support them. I don't want any whānau who have been affected to see that we are specifically targeting Bay of Islands and Whangarua communities and think that they can't access support. To date, we have had 33 applications come through representing a significant number of families. Some applications represented entire Kainga or communities that were affected, and we have granted $61,000 in area disaster relief funding so far. I think the total request has been over 130,000 in there, so we follow a terms of reference to the policy for how we apply it, but any help is help that we can help out. We've got an application closure date of Friday the 13th of March, which is this Friday, so please find that on the council's website, share it across any of your networks or whānau or community leaders that you think might benefit from applying and encourage them to do so. Also, we'll be starting back up In the past term, we used to host a weekly meeting with final business and agency leaders. So they were the business association chairs on a meeting with me every week, as well as like Northern Baraki, North Chamber, MSD, NZTA as agency leaders. We're bringing that back, and it's going to be monthly. Community board chairs are invited, or a delegate, or if you particularly, my thing is like the coalition of the willing, collaboration of the willing. Like, if you're keen, I'm never going to say no. So if you are particularly interested in what that looks like, then please let us know and we'll include you in the invitation. Councillor Rachel Balky, your own Councillor Balky, and also Councillor John Research are our economic development portfolio councillors. So they'll be a part of what that looks like too. And finally, thank you for your participation in the state of the farm. I thought that it was a huge success in communicating incredibly complex and multifaceted aspects of our council, our mahi, our funding, and what we do to our communities. Great to see it's been fully released. I think that my mum can find 3 of the views on YouTube at least. I would really love for you all input, and I know staff have sent out a formal feedback form. If you could fill that out honestly, or if you want to reach out to them, give them feedback for how we can do better. I would actually will commit to actually giving the house of I'm talking in. It's over the next one, I reckon, and with the benefit of not having just come through an election and starting in this much time to manage what they look like. We've got an entire year as a runway. And so for the next one, you as community board members can have all your pretty faces on stage, on camera, and those things that you will hear as well. So please get that feedback on this specific things. Also, thank you for your community board priorities that came through our council meeting, through your minutes for our long-term plan. And off the back of that, Northern Regional Council are implementing their long-term planning, and because the government has signalled that they may not exist as councillors, the organisation might not exist in 3 years' time, and whatever that looks like, we're going to work through. It could be at the farm unitary, it could be that we have a single unitary, it could be who knows what. They said we don't want to be planning and making decisions without at least including you in the room. So they have given an invitation that if we have any elected members who particularly at a community board level or at a council level would like to be a part of their entire long-term planning development and their workshopping, then you put your hand up and we'll tie you in, and you can by Teams club to ask that question. Do you guys say you have to be in person, or can you do it by Teams as well? You know, I know you live all the way up in Cape. So they said, sweet. So if you are interested, then we can meet the offers on the table that you could be a part of regional councils long-term. And I'll probably over time, and you get a character, and I'll be around if you will be looking
I suggest now it's been quite a comprehensive morning, so that we take 10 minutes break. Okay.
Can we please close the line, please? Thank you.
I'll take that off.
Can you just mute, sorry, Natasha, can you just mute on there? No, it's not muted.
Yes. Mute.
Yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Moving on with our agenda. 6.1, confirmation of previous minutes. That the particular board confirmed the minutes of the meeting held 9th February 2026 to be true and correct record. I move that. I'll second that. Is there any discussion on the minutes?
Just page 12, where we, the drainage committee appointments.
Right, yeah, carry on.
We, what was it, I'll just, I'm going to be very crystal.
There's a conflict of interest here.
Can you just restate that, Eddie?
Was there a conflict of interest of Crystal jumped on me?
There was a conflict of interest tabled right at the start when we were discussing that. However, the question was that does a conflict of interest impede any decisions if she stays out of those decision making? I'm not too sure. Can someone give us some advice on that? At the moment, we have Trevor and Adele in Kaitaia, and the other two areas, that's now controlled by Adele.
So sorry, I'm trying to call the question, wasn't I?
Yeah. Well,
Through the chair, if Crystal is on the actual committees, but not with voting rights.
So if you appoint a member to the committee, by default they would have voting rights. Any committee. But we would take as a conflict, so we just have to manage that carefully.
okay. Does that answer your question? Any other feedback on minutes, previous minutes? Right.
Sure, but the note that, I'm with you, I haven't been able to be at good community board meetings, so there's always something else scheduled at the same time. But just want to know that a lot of the projects are east centre, for the traffic project priority. Just want to note that, and I don't know if you. I'm not sort of trying to, are we saying that we've done enough in the west? So where all the projects are going that way to the east, one in Pukenuka, we speak all those in the east, and I was saying that the west have been led, done, forgotten, whatever. Just saying, I'm sure somebody else will ask.
No. Is there any feedback? Sorry, listen. Thank you.
Just on page 12, it talks about the land drainage committees. We had an item from our infrastructure committee about land drainage with Councillor Joe Carr from the Northern Regional Council. There was a notice of motion about moving the land drainage schemes to be administered by the Northern Regional Council. I've been updated from our CEO that the Whanau District CEO and the NRC CEO are having discussions about that, and that as part of the long-term plan, those budgets can be moved over to be administered by them. Councillor Carr identified that the Awanui River, the NRC do also needs to have better implementation for spraying and floodgates. And because the land drainage and river management are interrelated with digger works, with spraying, it naturally works well together. The other conversation that we're having is how urban stormwater plays into that. and if the urban stormwater network should be administered as part of the hazards and river management that NRC currently do with hydrologists, or if the stormwater is more aligned with the potable water and wastewater that the new CCO for our region is looking at. So those decisions haven't been made yet, but we will have a paper about the land drainage coming to the April Infrastructure Committee meeting about that. And it's important that your board either attend or are aware, because that's a delegation to your board. So I'll just keep you updated about that. And the other one is consenting for the land drainage as well. NRC updated us with that there's been a pause on the consenting for that because of the changes to the Resource Management Act and looking at global consents with Kaipara Council. So Tanya, who's the general manager of the area, sent an email confirming that. And the Northern Regional Council also confirmed that in an email. So just to update you there, because I have seen quite a bit of email correspondence about that issue.
So as we are now still in limbo, and we carry on as normal.
Yes.
There was a recent river liaison meeting.
Yes, last Thursday.
Was that tabled or was that brought up at Aldi?
Just lightly, yes.
Just like, okay. So,
The issue at the Awanui river meeting is that no Whanau District Council staff attended. So the Northern Regional Council staff can't talk to our staff if they're not there. And that's quite embarrassing because we need to have the floodgates working on the river so that when the urban stormwater needs to get out, all the catchment needs to work together. So we'll bring that up with our staff. I'm just looking at who's online.
I just noted at the Awanui River Liaison meeting, there's no council staff, FNDC council staff. And they were invited, and it would be so good for the two councils to work together on these projects, because the Donald Lane Bridge came up, and they need to work together for that.
Can I be on the Awanui River Committee?
Sorry, Moko.
I'm really trying to pass it. Really just on that one there, deputy meeting away to raise priorities. With them because it's his staff that need to be attending these meetings. So that's been followed up from actually areas to why staff have attendance there. And just acknowledge and stress the importance of the collaboration space. So appreciate it being highlighted here again. For the Awanui River Committee, I can't remember who we appointed by council, but we can you as well.
We had a council meeting on the same day.
Can you look at the terms of reference, please, and make sure and we can look to having like councillors and I've done how we got with four councillors.
I didn't attend because our formal council meeting was on the same day as the river meeting.
That's what I didn't go to.
Through the chair, just because I don't think I was answered last meeting around the drainage committee, if there could be a space or a place where we could involve Te Raro and Ngāi Taputo through a representative on the board committee as well.
They already are.
Yeah. Big fans.
Yeah, they're already on Awanui.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that proviso was always, that opportunity was always there.
Should have been.
Yeah. Sorry, this evening.
The drainage committees, the membership for the drainage committees are the affected parties. So if there were any in those catchments that are named, then that would give them the right to attend.
As part of those total reports, there was always an opportunity for everyone to acknowledge remotely. So there were meetings previously when they can come along and openly be able to speak about the programming issues. So that can continue. That's probably more than we don't know if we truly answer. So if we request everyone on board without home would be interested, and we can invite them to the meetings on the full list of issues.
Just through the chair, that is going to be happening. I saw the list on Thursday. Who could be invited, who is going to be invited to, or who has been, I should say, to the meeting. So, and who are they? We're on this.
Is there any further discussion on the minutes? All in favour? Against? Exemptions? Carried. Moving on, we've got a bit of a tricky one, this one, but I'll read it out and then I'm going to ask Natasha just to explain. 6.2. The Hiku Community Board resolved to consider the item not on the agenda, Stage 1, Community Adaptation Planning, Hotaka Orutau Apoli Community Adaptation Program. Notes, the item was not on the agenda because it was received outside of acceptable time frames as per Standing Orders 9-10. The report cannot be delayed because it is part of the group of 7 reports which should be presented at the same time. If you've got any questions, could you direct that to Natasha, please?
Well, through the chair, for one thing, we haven't had time to even sort of look at this agenda item yet. So how can we actually?
Through the chair, I actually emailed that report.
Yeah.
And the reason it's been submitted is it has been late and it's been moved to April meeting. However, they came back on Friday afternoon saying that it should be heard today because there are 7 reports going to different committees and 4 community boards, and they should all be heard in the same month. They're part of a larger group. Because it was already too late for even supplementary agenda, we are trying to edit a major item not on agenda. And at this stage, you're just voting to edit, to actually discuss this item further in the agenda. I see we have the report writer and I think the manager online. So if you have any questions further, double check when we start discussing the item, you're more than welcome to ask them.
Any further discussion on those?
What's the status? We're considering it, we're not continuing.
Just considering, you're deciding if you are going to discuss this item in today's agenda, in today's meeting.
We put down communities out and we start consulting with, and whatever the time frame is. I think this is something we've been talking about inside council, but it's all inside, it's kind of like fragmented, and it's really good to know that now we've got somebody who is kind of working on this. There's a little bit of NRC, a little bit of council when I first started, and there's been no real coordination until I think AMO stuff. So yeah, I'm interested in this area because I have been on the side of that, but it's also hugely impacted. Well, we've seen the impact on Cyclone Gabriel and the recent weather events, and so yeah, I'd like to see that being covered.
So we are resolving to consider.
Receive them.
Receive.
Just to receive them.
Okay. Those in favour? Those against, abstain?
Other staff minutes?
Sorry. Okay. Moving. Yeah, I'll second. All those in favour? Against, abstain? So, moving on to 7.1, page 15 of the agenda. That Te Hiku Committee Board received the report of fresco dining applications. In this one, if you've got any comments, we've got Sinead Barker. You could direct any questions to her.
I think it was all renewal. So
Yeah,
There we go.
I'll move. Yeah.
No further- Do I have a second? Thank you.
You.
All those in favour? Against? Abstain? Abstentions? Thank you. 7.2, project funding reports. Page 18, that the Te Hiku Board note the project reports received from Aipara Aroha Movies in the Park, B. R. Tucker Thompson Youth Sailing, and C. Xavier Northland 2025.
I got a little bit, just a little bit concerned about 3 years.
Open for discussion.
Yeah, 3 years.
I need a move and second this one.
This is not
To
set.
report on. Yeah.
I'm happy
to move the
Yeah.
reports.
Yeah.
I'm happy to move the reports.
Getting there. There's no discussion. The reports received. No comments, Catherine? Brilliant. Yeah.
I like that we had 2 kids on
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I think that's a really fair. I'm sure our school scene, I know our school scene, but it's really worthwhile.
Yeah.
Actually.
To go on the boards.
They've been operating for some years now and always a good outcome. Always. No further discussion? All those in favour? Those against? Carried. 7.3, funding applications. A, that Te Hiku Community Board approve the sum of 5,000 plus GST if applicable be paid from the board's community grant fund account to Jackman Entertainment Limited for the cost toward 2026 Sabre Northland. We'll discuss that first. Open for discussion. Eddie. Sorry, moved.
Yeah.
Seconder. Thank you. Open for discussion.
Not that particular one. But the first year's one.
Would be just that one. The discussion point. Yeah.
Sorry, through the chair, I don't know if this is a normal thing, but is it normal for the applicant to also provide a quote to the event? Like they've got the quote here, there's from Jackman.
Yeah.
To Jackman, to Sabre. Is that a normal thing like this?
Through the chair, it absolutely.
It is?
Yeah, because they put in the application and they're acting as basically an umbrella for everything, just so it's quite normal for them to. They won't have time. Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Just through the chair, I guess I guess the issue is probably that we've got three deliberations. And if we have to speak to them in isolation, it makes it a little challenging to we tease out the issue at hand, which is the ongoing commitment for 3 years support. So I'm not sure how we address that, other than address it.
Catherine, can you help us there in terms of the 3-year promise?
What can funding for the remaining is so that would be for 3 years. And rather than putting it all in as one resolution, I wanted to give you the opportunity to decide whether you wanted to do just 1 year at a time and they have to come back next year, or whether we do it for all 3 years, which is what they request.
Yeah, I think the general consensus on this is that it's 1 year. Speaking to everyone, but again, open for discussion at this stage.
Has it been done before like that? That's all I want to know is this the first time it's ever happened?
For an event like this is the first time. Usually it tends to be smaller things, so you might want to do this just event that happens every year in some organisation. The other boards get some that have been with a request for funding stand every year to redo something in the community, so that was done as a multi-year application. First time for everything.
Through the chair, I think we did that.
Sorry, Adele.
Sorry.
I would be nervous for you to commit funding. I've had from our council year. So long-term plan is only 3 years, and we have committed funding for the next financial year through the long-term plan, but we're getting past annual plan yet, which is when you get your money in the bank, so to speak. Beyond that, we have to go through a whole long-term plan, and then to be fair, there's no guarantee that your community will get any funding through that process. Right. So I would be interested in to commit funding this year.
Any further discussion?
The recommendation is for 5,000 that come from you.
Yes. Because they've asked for just on 6,244. They've gone to all 3 boards, they've asked for different amounts from each board based on what's happening in the area.
6,000.
Oh, 3,000.
Yeah. Well, we gave them 4,000 last year.
Okay.
Would you like to propose a change?
Through the chief, I propose a change that we that the Hiku Community Board approve the sum of $4,000 instead of the 5,000 sought.
I'll second that.
Yeah. So that goes as a new.
It doesn't necessarily, if the mover, if the mover and seconder agree with the change, we don't have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can vote on it.
So was Eddie and Trevor, are you happy with the change?
So 4 wheels, and that's out. Idiot.
Oh, Eddie and Bill.
No, Trevor and Adele.
Check it.
Are you happy with the change? Bill, are you happy with the change? Okay. Then you want.
All those in favour?
What are you supporting? 1 year funding?
1 year.
Oh, we've got to go to that one next.
Yeah.
So is there someone else moving that motion?
No. That's it. All in favour of 4,000 this year? Those against, abstain? Carried. Moving on to application B, that the Te Hiku Community Board approve the sum of 5,000 plus GST, if applicable, be paid for the board's community grant fund account to Jackman Entertainment Limited for costs towards Sable 2027 from 27 to 28 financial year, funding subject to receiving a project report on the 2026 Sable Northern event.
Through the chair.
Mover.
Do we just decline them or
Move it.
no, not move it?
No mover, no second. Application declined.
Maybe we should then say that we don't approve.
Well, it isn't a policy, it's something I'm actually going to be discussing with you later on.
Okay. Please.
How we would, the community would be needs to speak, so I can't calculate the, why is it for violence, if you were multi funding and wanting to see long-term thing for during the board.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Brilliant. Moving on, C, that the Hiku Community Board approve the sum of 5,000 plus GST, if applicable, per year be paid for the board's committee grant, paid from the board's committee grant fund, account to Jackman Entertainment Limited for costs towards Saver 2028 from the 2028-29 financial year funding, subject to receiving a project report on the 2027 Saver Northern event. Do I have a mover? Application denied. That's all. Moving on, 8.1, Committee Board reports that the Hiku Community Board note the March 2026 member reports from Chair Bill Zabriskie and members Adele Gardner, Eddie Balas, Mike Tawaka, Trevor Beatson, and Crystal Rose David. Could I have a mover? Seconder? Yeah, thank you. I will get to my report. Get back to what you said, Adele, that back folder reference chart would be real handy at this stage. Yeah, page 49, yeah. That thereabouts. Yeah, I will. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Take mine as I did address at the last council meeting in reference to the retirement villages. I tabled my concern about how it was managed in terms of notification, in terms of meeting with the local residents, and I pleaded basically, and I did this online, by the way, guys, I was still under the influence of flu, but I did ask that any connection with the villages, etc., in the retirement areas, that we be notified and that we be in attendance, i.e., it's simple, we're close to them, we know most of them, and we could have just handled that aspect of it a lot better.
I agree with you, Bill. And I don't believe that the status report of that house, those study on the Awamu homes, I don't think that, and I only had a quick look. My friend used to live in the same unit. Right. Yes. Yeah. She used to live in the same unit. And there was regular upkeep. So the water damage that I saw on the ceiling was minimal. And I would knock a house over just for a minimal bit of damage. I'd say maybe move out for a couple of days and then go back. But the uncertainty was for what's her name? Smith. Yeah. The uncertainty for him was being told that they had to move out, and the options he felt were really good. Yeah, I don't know who handles that. Is that you, Felicity? Does that come back to you? That housing for the elderly?
Not to me personally, but
the person who answered really well.
Yes. Yeah. So there will be an update to all of council in the council April meeting. I think the staff member said. No, I don't.
Exclusion.
Right.
Transport and infrastructure committee, where all us community will you can just keep avoiding questions and answers.
Thank you.
But just an update that no decision has been made, and that the significance and engagement process that has to come back to council to make those decisions, and that paper will be in April.
And it's similar to the same concerns of the ones in Kaitaia as well.
Correct.
So, you know, and all they want is a bit of peace in mind. Like I can remember when Matua Saru was moved, and he was in such stress. And nobody bothered to say, we'll just go across the road and we'll give you another. But in the time, you know, from people responding to staff, the time that he got an answer, well, okay, you're going to move out, but we'll move you into this one. He was so stressed. He just needed an answer.
And you're right, that's all I've seen based on the village right next to me is just trauma, total stress. Which,
At that age.
Just a note on rubbish bins. Obviously, we'll be covering that, and it's something we want to address. I'd like to talk to her after the meeting. Induction. At both council, at the first council meeting I spoke, I did talk about the lack of induction and handover procedures, and obviously, council will be looking at those in the future. But I think we can start. This is just to the community board. We can start that as soon as we can. I've been talking to Trevor, and we can get questions, etc., and start problem solving for ourselves, as long as we're all on the same page and talking about the same items. You want to move me? Report of data. Yeah. Okay. That ends my report. Are there any questions? Okay.
Oh, you just have to take my little report as read, thank you. We'll get the rest of it at the next meeting.
Thank you, Adele. Eddie.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, take mine as read as well, and I've got nothing to add.
Can I just ask a question, Eddie? Have we got any update on the Wairotarare reserve? Has there been any further progress there or work?
No, so the last correspondence with Ivan was that he was still in discussing matters with the local resident that we met with out there.
Okay, right. As a follow-up to that, I did speak to Sana Ryan too, and she's just going to go through and make sure that all the native plants are protected prior to them any work happening.
And there has been basins installed to those toilets.
Yes, yeah, brilliant. Yeah, and repairs to the gazebo.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Michael. Hello.
Mr. Chief.
Trevor, you still in? Thank you. Take it through. Mr. Chair.
Crystal.
I'm just going to take a look. Just in regards to the toilet situation around it. Do you know if there's part of that message, what the part of that for like one for like 100?
Yeah. That's why I was invited. So there's a NRC connection with the lake, and then the reserve is partly council. So you.
Yeah, I think it would be really helpful if we had staff about council's property, facilities and reserves, given that's a delegation of community boards at the community board meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can, but Firehilda and I aren't. And we don't actually have access to council staff databases, unfortunately, so we can't see any of your RFSs or look up any of that data. But maybe Beverly.
The lake is toxic.
Yes, yeah.
You can't hop in the water, and area hasn't been maintained for a long time. And I think there was just at the meeting there was at the lake. It was just trying to see what can NRC council, local and landowners and local school could do to sort of get it up to speed, because it would be a wonderful, wonderful wind sport venue. It's the biggest lake in the farmhouse, but it's full of algae, and I think they could be drainage going, dumping drains, and they think there may even be carp in the drains. All of this new kind of vegetation which is under the water but eating up all the local stuff, and the lake is gone.
Well, I think it was brought up in my committee about how we work, and we talked about the land drainage schemes with NRC. With bringing Councillor Joe Carr to the committee, it really helps with some of those cross silo approaches between our council and the NRC. What might help is we do have a Kaitaia Northern Regional Council office, and we could invite a member of their staff to this meeting each time so that we can address any of those cross council issues. The general manager of that is Peter Wiesing, and we could also invite Joe Carr, who's the councillor for this area. I'm not sure who, the Māori ward, is that across the whole district, or is there one for? Yeah. Yeah, I know that they're not Muri Whenua based, but they could attend online, for example. So I did find that helpful in my committee. I don't know, would that be as a chair, you'd invite them?
Yeah, definitely.
Chair Strisky. Just so that any questions that are asked, if I can't answer them, potentially they could, yeah.
We just want to talk there.
Just a question.
Well, it's expensive.
This is where I'm not embarrassed, but it reflects the genuine, hugely significant size of our district. And the learning about areas.
It's way harder.
Yeah. Fine. So I'm just taking a look at it right now. So this lake is this dog figure. Like it even has on Google Street View. Also, that Highway 1, it even has a brown road informational sign to point to it. But in your report here, in the paper saying that this is a private road. So is there a toilet in existence there?
It used to be many years ago. And I think at that time they were responsibility. There's no longer one there, there's been toilet.
Who actually owns the reserve that is publicly available too?
Don't know.
Yeah. I'm intrigued. Sorry.
Through the chair, was through my early years of being elected that toilet got taken away. It was only a
long drop.
Long drop. So it had to be taken away.
You might have to be able to get I'm not going to I think that if I can, if I may, we're right up the street and this is saved by a meter. So there are things back. Anywhere we are going out the street, this is just one thing that we can do. No, that we are other areas that also that we have on our public toilet. We really have as a council when the government get tourism infrastructure funding rounds that we could apply to put toilets up, and that's no longer a thing, but we do in elections here, all sorts of things with funds open like that for that. For me, this speaks to a wider conversation at both the community board level, but also like community board and council when we go through our long-term plan in return to 10 years. And what does like space planning look like for our areas, so that right now when we go through a long-term plan, just check everything out. But then it's across, like just pages and pages by grouping our council instead of looking at it by area. So then you can say, what does this community need? What does this community need? What does this community want? What can we use the council to toilets are the significant one I personally want to have a conversation about. We currently own more or less 93 toilet blocks across the island. And each of them on average are $20,000 a year service as a council. And I think that there are some areas that we could actually step back as a council and use my own line. It's in my TNT line. We've got a public toilet there that we are paying some here to go out and regularly or irregularly serve. Whereas I think that I know look up to the line. A lot better, excellent, or a lot cheaper. And so what will it look like to actually give them their toilet or give them let them take over the toilet and do local commissioning so that instead of paying $20,000 a year, I'm going to do that for half the price, $10,000 a year, and do a better job of it. But there are examples of that across different areas of the farm that we could look like, so that we're not adding on more toilets to our schedules, but we might be taking some off and putting some in strategic locations where we do get things like here. So I don't think I don't know what matches for this one here, and I've jumped on the leg instead of football. Yeah, I think that's something that I would like to work alongside you or with you now to actually look at what we have, how we have that, and where it's best placed for cost of our community. And so that will be something that will drive through the long term this year.
Felicity.
Remember at the start of the meeting there was a corridor that that you missed because we started a bit earlier, and we had our place-based planning team come in online, and I just brought up how there isn't a service level agreement between the silos of council, and that place-based planning team had done this great plan for Taipa 2 years ago, but there was no ability to move that into the scoping and pricing part within the infrastructure group. So there is no clear delineation of roles and which responsibility is with different departments. And I can see we now have Hilary here, who's in charge of our very important city care contract and all of our assets relating to operational costs. That's the other missing part of the puzzle in the interdepartment service level agreements, just so that we understand the clear agreement, not only for planning the space, scoping and delivering the space, but then maintaining and operating the space. And at the moment, the silos don't have a clear service level agreement between those departments. And I know I'm an elected member, I'm not CEO, but this is a very operational aspect that hasn't been addressed for a number of years. And the Taipa project hasn't been delivered for 2 years because of that lack of integration.
Thank you. Through the chair, the information on the report just highlighted that there was issues around the toilet, and so through our community coordination we can follow up on that RFS. But I think this has been a really useful corridor, even though we've digressed a lot. There's a lot more to it, obviously, that we need to unpack as staff. So through the community coordinator, we can follow up with Hilary's team around what's happening with that piece of land, what the future could look like, and ensure that the facility and the infrastructure that's there supports the use of the community.
Yeah, I'll add to mine. I've been making up just over my time a list of stuff. I have to about Hiku and other things. Sealing off the line, I've been making a list of things that Felicity has brought out in the community board. Things for the long-term plan, and just as I hear things that are adding into my list, so if funding does come up or I'm somewhere, or I just never included that because there's so much info and so much going on. So it may sit on my list, but it's just good to have it here so that when those things come up quickly, just put down my list and think, hey, I wonder if there's something. So I'll add that to my list and keep it on.
Thank you, Richard. Councillor, yeah, quick report from you.
So
Thank you.
We meet once a month with Hiku and Final Holdings. Hillary came to the last meeting. And so of the $5.4 million from the Crown for resilience funding, we were, over a number of meetings, we were asked, and we had stakeholder meetings last year. You know, there was a request to do both runways, but when we were giving the cost scenarios, you could do 2 runways last 5 years. Well, the costly one will take much longer. It would be really ideal for the hospital, which would mean that planes to the land and any weather, but the cost factor to have a tarmac upgrade to last for 15 years meant we wouldn't be coming back asking ratepayers that complain about where their dollar goes in 5 years. So we decided to future-proof the main runway, and so the resilience things require the tarmac, the drainage to be done up, lighting, security lightings, extra fuel storage that was taken away over 20 years ago for emergency things, and a fence line. So we kind of made that call that we would get one air runway done really well, and also another Final Holdings has got somebody wants to lease some land about doing all of the flights. What do you call that? A satellite kind of station. Airway. Yeah, like airways things that. So they got one in Kitty, which would mean that we would have one in the farmers. So that was an incoming project that will bring in money to the project. We decided at the last meeting not to fix up the old yellow house that there for security. It would have. My sister got local contractors to quote, would cost $175K to get that current house up to scratch for someone to live in, and that wouldn't come out of that resilience budget. But those are the only things. Like all I know is that it sounded like $5.4 million would have been spent on all of the things that need to be funded, and then we've got something like 2.4 in our long-term plan for the airport, and then arguing about what I think the consensus we came to was that we would refurbish, or I don't know what you call it, renovate the airport building itself so that it incorporated from the front entrance, extending that funny, and that we would get better money for our area. Yeah. So the fence line would be highly reduced because the fence line at the lease area would take would cut out the crosswind runway. And that would mean that this maintenance would be done around that area. Knowing that there's a number of operations that happen, the daily service to the hospital, bringing 8 to 10 nurses, doctors in every day. The ambulance that is left up here that charges its battery ready to go, and for incoming, outgoing, whatever, patients. And really, so all I can say really. Yeah.
Just a question. In terms of the second runway,
yes.
Is any jet traffic compromised by?
It's not a really ideal runway. The Aero Club say they might use it, but I think they may use it, but I don't know why they would. It's full of potholes and high grass.
Okay.
I spoke to the Aero Club
Hilda, and they said they prefer that one way because it is actually, they believe, one that it was much easier to land on. They haven't used it because it's been in such poor repair. They're very concerned that it's been decommissioned and will be fenced off. And I know we can't have money straight from most we have, but it is actually a really important asset. And I would just worry if they just like fence it off and say that's the end of it. I kind of feel like, why shouldn't we have to? Like, if we want to grow our area and it's there, and like I know it's just, we've got this money from the town, it's great, but I'm just like, well, I do think we need to push to like do something with that extra money somehow. I know that might be a fantasy, but I just think it is a bit of a worry.
Not from lack of trying, that's for sure. Yeah.
I was just wondering, for the final cost for that as well, about that railway, because I also was contacted about that.
Kia ora, everyone. Through the chair, if I could just respond a bit to that. I've had a meeting at the airport this morning, and talking about the Crosswind runway, which has been decommissioned already with CAA, but it can be recommissioned. And even if half of it was recommissioned, that's a possibility in the future, not as part of this project, because we will consume all of the funds we have available to upgrade the
But do we have a cost?
To restore?
No,
it's not at this point. This is just a conversation we had this morning that that's even possible. So it's doable.
The problem I have is that if it's been decommissioned for a certain amount of time, what amount of time puts it to, just like our roads, where it becomes total renew? Yeah.
It's already past.
What advantage would half the runway give us?
Apparently, Aero Club could still use it then.
Doctors.
No, the main runway is still 200 metres, and the Crosswind is not that long, so it's not large planes anyway. And they've already brought in the large plane for the air ambulance service.
It would just be really great to know what it would actually cost. Like, they don't have to go and spend a lot of money. Just what would it cost to bring that up to speed? Just so we know. Because when you're in front of ministers and stuff, I'd love to be able to just pull out just
Yeah, like I'm the chair. For you, Mr. Chair. I actually don't get speaking. It sounds nice. Terry, what's the current, out of the 5.4 million in central government funding in the 2.7 or whatever those numbers are, over 5 and over 2 that we bring in, how much of that is being spent on the upgrade of the current?
So we budgeted 3.5, but we're going to get it less than that, and Barnum Holdings currently negotiating this.
Around 3.5 million for that, and did we go with the 10-year or 15-year type of seal?
15.
So for the Crosswind runway, that you use that council of LP as your benchmark for the one-to-one, and then you go 75% of that, because 75% of the length.
I also think that you know, what we see to the other stakeholders, because the summaries don't come out frequent enough, and they only go out in newsletter rather than in public, is that we have a meeting with stakeholders, and I know a couple of you would want to be part of that, and they have said so. But, you know, what I recall from the hospital staff, which was Michelle Ross, was that would save a lot of pressure on them, because when a plane, it's not often, but when a plane can't land, that means they've got to cancel appointments, reschedule, and it's just too hard. And, you know, doctors don't want to spend 3 hours coming up from Whangarei to service people. They like a 20-minute trip.
There's been times when they've got to fly people out and they can't use that. And so the Crosswind one.
Yeah. So the hospital scene does use the Crosswind.
And we all know that
runway. It used to when it was operational. Yeah.
So a meeting with the stakeholders, because what was called in
What would be helpful, just as a conversation, being from the farm off, I think in the over there, a little bit to they localities and use of the airport up here as well. But what is useful, council of Alki, for example, anyone needs to check in what does it look like. So we've got a plan, we've got a plan, we've got we know the money, we've got the amount. And not to hold off on getting that money, but maybe I don't think would have been on for fencing money. But what helps in conversations like this is the power of distance when we go to a minister or we go to so we can probably estimate how much it would cost to bring across from something like to speak. But what will also go hand in hand with that is the number of based on what like meteorological data, whatever it is, the amount of times that a plane would potentially get used there, the cost of a plane having to be cancelled, the cost of a plane having to come up and to turn around, and then you do that with the doctor's hours and the impact of not having that, and you put that cost up over 15 years of the life of the Crossland Tunnel against the actual cost that we required, and then you've got your I need to do that on the clinical data, right? But then when we go to a minister and say, Uncle Shane, you've just recently told us we've got $40 million less than your regional infrastructure budget. And we just want two more, because that two, for the price of $2 million, you're going to save $20 million in lost productivity from not having the Crossland Tunnel operationally over the next 15 years, because this is what the data suggests to us, but without us getting that data input into it, then we just get, what's the ratio of saying bullshitting? Like you're there just trying to sell yourself, but if we can put the actual data on page, then, then I'm ashamed of there and goes, oh, yeah, the price of $2 million, sweet, I've got $40 million. When I look at all the other applications coming in, this one, a little bit more, very compelling.
We put that through our construction committee to request a costing to bring that runway up to speed. So it's through our construction committee. And then we can work together to do some research around what we just said so that if there's an opportunity.
We need to be quick before the fence goes up. I know that e-barrier is not flying in the afternoons, they're tarmacking now because they had the tarmac up there maybe last week. So we need to be quick before they put the fence in. Because once they fence it off, got to,
yes. Are you able to, Hillary, to pause the fencing now that it's currently operating? That on fencing, so can pause there. Like we did with we have to do the demolition work to wait and see what.
Through Chair, we have a certain window of time to expend the funds that are available. We run the risk of the main runway closing more often if we don't press ahead. The fencing is not a big issue. This is not security fencing, it's stock fencing, farm fencing, so it could be easily altered. I don't actually think it impacts the Crossland runway, but it's only farm fencing, so it could be removed at a later date.
We can
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
we need to do this a couple of years. And just keep coming back to that. Which is why I like the idea of the stakeholders week. Everyone's in the room at the same time, they're not two separate operations, that they come back as one. Because we've been scared that way, given the information that we've been handling.
No further discussion? Those in favour? Sorry.
Conversation today. Particularly with infrastructure, really important. If we get a chart.
Sorry, one more. Councillor Paul, did you have anything to
You need a report?
Yes.
Oh, hello. Well, I've already spoken about some of the things on my committee, but I can see Hilary is here now. And so she's a valuable resource to your community board, given you've got delegations for reserves and property. One of the things that Hilary's area is working in with the finance area is the actual cost of our assets. So our finance man, Ken, is doing a spreadsheet of actually what an asset costs in terms of depreciation, in terms of power, insurance, and also the operational costs. We have a huge number of halls. We have a huge number of service centres and buildings which aren't necessarily multi-use. And we don't actually have the granular cost of those because the asset classes have been grouped together, which means there's like just a big bucket of funding which goes to multiple buildings, so you can't work out actually how much each of these buildings cost. And it's huge money. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, we've got the Ruru Hall at the moment, which hasn't been used at all. That's costing huge money, and Adele has brought that up previously. That our ratepayers are paying. So Hilary's working on a project where we know the actual cost of the operational costs in the contract to maintain these assets that we have, and to what level in the contract that is with City Care. But then there's also her property team, and I'm not sure if that's part of your team, maintaining the halls, etc. It is part of your team. And what is that level of service that we should be maintaining them? Or, as we heard today, should they be given back to the community and we create a new pool of funding that they can apply for and look at different methods than we've always done? But we can't make those decisions until we actually know how much it's costing us. So that's the first aspect that I wanted to update you on. And when we get the spreadsheet, after I see it, we'll share that with you, because it'll have to go out as part of our significance and engagement policy notification for the long-term plan to look at for the public, because halls is part of that. Also, I've already talked about stormwater and looking at the integration with NRC and the service level agreements between the different departments of council. The last aspect I wanted to update you on is roading, and Rachel holds the roading portfolio, so we work closely together on that. Our roading contracts come out and start to be implemented in July. So they're brand new types of contracts. You would have heard about find and fix from our memoko in the state of the Far North, and it's moving to a measure and value contract. So that will mean that we don't pay the contractor a set amount and they just do it routinely. They change to like area grading, so they would only grade an area and they're paid per kilometre. Then it's not a set amount that they're paid. So that will mean a change in behaviours from the contractor, and it will mean as well that we have more control over choosing which areas that we want to have action on at certain times of the year, like wet and roll for over summer periods, for example, for juts and on coastal areas. And also we are looking to implement an unsealed roading program. We build up the base course of metal roads, and we have a 10-year program of works instead of a 3-year program of work that aligns to the New Zealand government policy statement for roading. And because we've got such a large network, that will allow us to have better oversight of how we forward plan our contractors, and our contract that will be rolled out in July is over a 10-year period as well. So big change happening in this space, and I'm not sure if Mr. Chair, if Rachel wanted to comment, because she does hold that portfolio for roading.
Yeah, there's some really real big changes coming, and really exciting changes, and we are looking to seek some bespoke funding from central government, which we're working on, and we're hoping to bring the roading crew to community boards to work on a little project with us around places of significance or events that not guaranteed that those things will be able to be addressed immediately, but just once again to collaborate community feel around certain areas and roads and access ways to significant events, etc. So that the funding does come up, we're ready, shovel ready to go with these applications. But is there going to be a this year's combined community board meeting where we could maybe bring them to everyone rather than go to each separate one, or we're happy to go to each separate one? But I just thought if they're having a combined one, that would be great, because it would be neat to be able to update you all the community ones where we're at with the new contract. Maybe on the Main Street, yes. So Felicity and I are going to be doing a video just updating everyone about the Main Street and what's happening with that, because I know there's been heaps of stuff in social media. But no, but it's a major beast, the Main Street. There's a lot going on underneath, stormwater and heaps of extra stuff. So it's just
You get wet walking under the socks and the rain.
Yeah, it's not an easy fix. It's quite a major, but it is going to happen. They are working on it, and I would like to think that that's done, it will be done properly, not by. So rest assured, we are on it, aren't we, Felicity?
Yeah,
on it.
so they're doing the main stormwater for the eastern side of the Commerce Street, but with western side of the Commerce Street. We've also asked them to plan the eastern side, and so they're going to dig up Commerce Street. And what would be extremely embarrassing is if one department of council fixed the road and then another department of council dug up the road. So that's what we don't want to do. So we're just going to do some comms that the reason we're not fixing the road now is because we're going to dig it up. So that's
and we don't want to dig it up twice, because that is kind of what would happen.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, can't be lucky here. So.
Just as an aside too, I was with a couple of the local businesses, and we're looking at, they were saying that during that last flood, they were standing there and there was minimal draw through the drains. And when you look at all the surfacing that's gone on there, and the metal, basically loose metal, has gone and it's clogging up the drains. Brilliant.
Like they do have a good understanding of what has gone wrong and what needs to be done, but it's just not doing this side of the street and then digging up again to do that side. So it's great that me and Felicity are on that committee. So we were like, anyway, it's going to get done.
Thank you. To the three councillors, thank you very much for your efforts. I see you working extremely hard. I hear all the comments, so it hasn't gone amiss, should I say. Thank you very much. All those in favour of receipt of our reports? Aye. Against, abstain? Thank you. I've been told I have to get back to the agenda. I'm not looking at anyone. Okay. On my report, it says 8.2. We'll look at that later. That the Te Hiku Community Board received the report, Stage 1 Community Adaptation Planning, Te Hotel. Taka Oru Tai Oruto Hapuri Community Adaptation Program. Sorry about my whatever. Can I have a mover, please? No, we
just agreed to receive.
Yeah.
And listers online.
Mover, please. Second that. Open for discussion. It's an impression to receive. Yeah. Okay. All those in favour?
Like,
Late.
Right. Thank you.
Kia ora. I think it's my turn to talk, but I couldn't quite hear that. Am I supposed to be talking now, Mr. Chair? Is that all right? Okay, ka pai.
No, she's
Yeah.
not.
Oh, no, I'm not supposed to be talking.
It's not me when you do that. Yeah, it's got That's good.
Testing.
There we go. Yeah.
Hi. That's all good. Hi, kia ora. Kia ora koutou. Yeah, ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa. First off, thank you for taking this late item, and I just want to thank the Democracy Services team as well for squeezing this in, and apologies for the the kind of chaotic arrival of this information report. But we're here now, and hopefully this is a good conversation and is useful to the community board. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Katie Simon. I'm the Adaptation Program Lead, and I sit with Esther on the Climate Action and Resilience team. I was on the ward tour with some of you and did speak briefly to the adaptation program. So this item is related to that kind of conversation, that kōrero around Te Hōtaka Urutau Hapori, our community adaptation program. I won't take this report as read because of the short amount of time that you all received it. So I'll just, as I guess succinctly as I can, step through the report a little bit, if that's all right, and the information and written in the report. And yeah, just I guess the purpose really. So really, this report is the first project-specific report under the Community Adaptation Program. It is on stage 1 of the Community Adaptation Planning Project. Stage 1 is the first project under PO1 in the adaptation program. The Community Adaptation Program as a whole was approved by Council in August of 2025, and it was approved as an accelerated program. So the program itself is not in an attachment onto this report. It is available online, and there is a link in the body of the report for those who are looking at it digitally. So that is there online at any point in time if you want to look at it. So yeah, like I said, this is a project update. The attachment to the report is a project summary. The project summary steps through the phases of stage 1 community adaptation planning. It kind of, the very top of it talks through the different phases of what an adaptation plan is, the questions that are asked, and the months, the kind of general time frame underneath those. So from now till December 2027, which is when we are anticipating to have adopted community adaptation plans. It at a very high level shows our different kind of engagement groups and bodies, everyone who will be involved, and probably most of interest to you, well, I don't know, what I'm hoping is, it's very small, so apologies, but there are governance kind of key touch points, which is one of the main reasons why we wanted to come to the community board, to just flag kind of the process and to talk a little bit around when we will come to you and present key outputs, deliverables, the like for your direction and input. Before I kind of go into that, I do want to just talk a little bit about why we're coming to you as the community board. So we are going to 4 different elected member bodies. We're going to you all, your first is as Te Hiku Community Board. We're also going to the Kaikoai Hokianga Community Board tomorrow with a similar report. We're going to Te Kukupa Committee for Strategy, Policy and Regulation, and we're also going to Te Koko Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. So we are going to all groups, all elected members that we anticipate will have a governance role in this process, in this project. So that's kind of the why, which is really for to Hiku, for you all as a community board, is because of the overlap between your ward in the northern kind of Whangape, Hedekino area. So with the Kaitaia subdivision members, the three. So that's the main reason, but also because you do have a role, obviously, as advocacy for community interests, overview of services, and kind of connecting back to community groups and the like. So that's the main reason, because there's going to be significant engagement, relationship building across communities with hapu, hokainga, whānau, groups that already exist. There's a lot of planning already underway that's quite related. There's been a lot of conversation, very relevant even for this process already during the board meeting. So yeah, so that's kind of the why. And then just to brief you all a little bit again on where we're going, we are in April, May, going to form what's called a scoping report. That's really going to set what this work's all about. So stage one, as the commitment to stage one in the project area, which you'll see on the summary, which is the yellow map, I guess, that commitment's been set. We've set some minimum standards around how we do adaptation. So we're looking at coastal hazards. We are looking at public assets that council administers. So we've set some basic standards around how we do adaptation planning in the approved adaptation program. But beyond that, we haven't set a scope for the adaptation planning project, the stage one area, because we need to understand where communities are at, what the context is, get a handle on some of the legislative changes and the overviews, what's the legislative environment we're operating in for adaptation planning. And once we do this scoping process, we will come back to you with the draft scoping report. And that will be a kind of a critical touch point to make sure we've got it right for your communities. So that's I guess, in a nutshell, the stage one adaptation planning kind of process. Happy to take any questions around the project summary or governance role, and what you guys can expect as the community board. Yeah, kia ora. Thank you.
Felicity.
I just had a question for Kathy about roading designations. Given that we're applying now to central government for our funding as part of our roading app, and I know that we're doing a designations process in Kirikiri Town Centre. Have you flagged this to the roading team that we apply as part of our AMP application to have funding for staff to do new roading designations for areas that might be flipping into the sea? Because if you don't apply for it, then we're not going to get the 71% funding from central government.
Yep, thank you. So through the chair, that is what you just stepped out is an anticipated process, but that won't happen until we have the adopted plans. We have to go through the process with we'll have a technical advisory group with elected members around understanding impacts on roads, the risks and impacts, understanding tolerance levels, and Councillor Foy, you've mentioned levels of service quite a bit today. So that's a massive element around acceptable levels of service into the future. So this project looks 100 years out. So once we have the adaptation plans, that would be exactly the next step to follow. The way we will bring that on with the roading team, for instance, they'll be involved as a technical advisor throughout the process to make sure any roading services, transportation service decisions that are in the scope of this plan are implementable and feasible. So that would be a consideration, absolutely. But that can only happen once council adopts the plans and we have response decisions on roads. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, because they're planning the next 10 years, we don't want to miss that boat. The NZTA board are unaware of your timeframe. Sorry for your document. So I think what I'm saying is that someone needs to talk to Andy Brown's department about this. And although the document isn't adopted, we don't want to miss the boat on funding, because the NZTA board have to decide that this year. And if we wait to do your plan first, then we miss out on 3 years of getting anything done in that space because we don't have the funding.
Yeah, I can. So through the chair again, I've had early conversations with Andy Brown. I've also had early conversations with Tony Horton at NZTA, and they will be. We're seeking them as members of the technical advisory group and as regional stakeholders. It is a little. I mean, timing and planning and timeframes around funding is always tricky, isn't it? That's kind of an age-old issue when it comes to council process. Because we are operating on a longer term time frame, it's not likely that this LTP will have response options, and it will be for the following long-term plan that we will have adopted decisions and we'll have short-term responses and preferred pathways set that we can follow. But until we go through that process, it's going to be very difficult to say what we're going to do. We have to go through the intensive engagement process and the intensive vetting and feasibility before we can put anything into a business case, a shared business case with NZTA, towards NZTA. So that's how we're tracking. And part of that will be to have vetted, I guess, responses around roading that have been accepted by communities around, future levels of service, future cost, and that are considered feasible from a kind of legislative and compliant consenting perspective as well. So it should be as much shovel ready as it could be on paper, but that won't be this long-term plan. We can speak more into Coco. So, yep.
Katie, Bill speaking. It's probably not relevant to this case, but I just in case you had some information for me. In terms of seawalls, i.e. we have three in our mine ward alone, or two. Is there what's the stance on seawalls in terms of council? And in terms of adaptation?
Question. I can only speak to how we will address kind of hard coastal protection in the adaptation planning project itself. But hopefully this maybe gives you insight into it. So seawalls are considered as an adaptation response. They're considered kind of in the protection, the hard coastal protection category. And this process will look at appropriate coastal protection structures. It's going to be within the stage 1 area. And so it will look at, are those options appropriate for the hazards? Will they mitigate ongoing coastal erosion well? Is it a cost that communities and ratepayers can maintain into the future? So it will consider all those questions. So it's absolutely on the table, but along with seawalls will be lots of other adaptation responses to consider. So it won't just be seawalls, it will probably be seawalls with a mix of nature-based solutions, and also the hard conversations around if protection isn't viable well into the future, is it actually more effective to relocate? And that could be relocating assets, and that could be different land use classifications. This gets a little complicated when we're looking at legislative changes right now, but seawalls are considered across a multitude of different responses. And we'll have to go, that's what this process is for the next 2 years. Yep, thank you.
And just looking at the map, to me it makes sense to combine, Hiku we bought Otaka. But it would be good to combine Whangapi and Pawarenga. They share the same harbour. They both go underwater when you high tide and etc. etc. So it doesn't seem smart just to focus on one side of the harbour. Just a suggestion. And the other one that Taio Marae and Pawarenga and also Mitty are the one that are recognised to be threat for coastal erosion. Anybody else in there?
Should be Waiho. Waiho will get it for those two. Harbour. Kia ora, Katie. Mike Wake here. Just wanting to know some of the so for the Mātauranga Māori knowledge holders, would that be selected from the marae, or is there like a skills matrix that some of our whānau can follow along? Because don't want the uncle who caught the 15-pounder snapper one time to be talking to you about Komara gardens. So I just said the language getting used isn't dialected or a different species.
Through the chair. So that is going to be a whole kind of kaitiaki ropu. There's been a lot of discussion around the purpose and function of the ropu, and I'm happy to share what we have right now is a role description for that, if you're interested. And that will be based on Haukainga local community members who are already well involved in Paiao climate resilience work. So they're in because there's so much happening right across this area, the stage 1 area, heaps of kaupapa. So it will be people who have those relationships who are truly involved in different kaupapa related to climate. And the intent is that group is mostly at a project delivery level, but they're sitting in that kind of strategic space as well. And they can advise and help guide the project team based on what's already happening on the ground and the relationships that they understand. They will not be mandated hapu reps. They do not need to be mandated hapu marae representatives. That is not the purpose of that group. The mandated hapu or marae representatives will sit on the community panels. That's what we're intending. All of this has to be written through in terms of reference and be formalized in the scoping report, but that's what we're anticipating now. So there's lots of different ways to participate in this project. We're trying to design the structure of the project so people can see themselves in these different spaces. But the community panels will be the ones making the recommendations to council. So that's where you would have your marae representatives or your hopi representatives on that space. Hopefully that answers your question.
Through the chair, Trevor Beatson here. I just wonder, it's only a hop, skip and jump from that yellow boundary on the Hira Kino side to Ahipara, which also has some climate change challenges at different parts of the foreshore there. I wonder, is it too late to consider that as part of the project, and if it was left out, why?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is Ahipara is in stage 2 of the adaptation program. So once we have adopted community adaptation plans for the stage 1 area, which we're aiming for the end of 2027, 2028 we're starting stage 2, which will include Ahipara. So in 2 years' time, we'll be coming to Ahipara to do a similar process, hopefully with really good learnings from stage 1 that we can apply. That is not in this report, apologies, but that is on the community adaptation program. That's where that sets the bigger program for this. This is just, again, this first stage 1 project. But yes, absolutely recognize that there are a lot of issues and risks to Ahipara. And we are setting a 2028 starting point, but very likely there's going to be crossover for when we're wrapping up stage 1 and starting stage 2 with relationship building and early engagement and the like. So conversations will be starting before 2028 because it's a big issue. Yeah.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
You give Katie one. Thank you.
Through the chair, I just noted on page 3 that there's a point Kora subdivision members may also be invited to participate in the relevant community panels, and I think it's a great idea. Maybe you might jump on the community panel.
Yeah. Suggest you take the opportunity to Canada.
And myself.
Yeah.
People not over, I'd rather be making sure that the right people in the center and others.
Yeah.
All
those in favour of receiving the report? Against that, abstentions? Carried. We've got lunch scheduled for 1 o'clock and one more recommendation. Did you want to carry on? Okay, moving on. 8.3, that the Te Hiku Community Board received the report, Te Hiku Community Board Open Resolutions Report for March 2026. I'll move that Could I have a seconder? Thank you. Thank you. Open for discussion.
Well, page 61 through the chair, if I could just speak to that briefly. So just the updates in terms of work happening there. I met with the district design officer last week on the ground. The Gull service station are a definite non-cooperator. I suggested to them we could arrange a boycott at the site. But given the current petrol crisis, I don't think anyone will listen to us. But yeah, they just maintain their new senior leadership team is not in the industry of toilet maintenance, even though she gave them all sorts of assurances. But had a walk around down there, met with John McCarthy from Mitre 10. Everybody understands the need for a toilet in North Park, but not everybody wants to give up a slice of their dirt. And so where we've landed is probably going back to NZTA, trying to identifying a piece of strip of grass and maybe seeing if the warehouse and all Leamings will lease up a couple of car parks to enable some disability parking there, making it accessible to the toilet. So it's back to that drawing board, but we've got a picture to draw on it, so if that makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you, Trevor. Is there any more discussion on that? I mean, have we got other options in terms of land? Felicity.
This has been going back a long time.
Yes.
So I can tell you all the areas that have been proposed for these toilets. And John Stewart was trying to do the Gull station.
That's right.
It's also been proposed in the road reserve in North Park. So that's a council-owned road. There's also a council reserve, like on the corner opposite where the Salvation Army is built, and there's a little mini roundabout. Down there, you'll see the strip of grass.
Oh, yeah.
So I wasn't sure why we haven't put it there. Like, I don't know why we haven't just put it in the road reserve. We own it.
It's a long way from the development though, from North Park.
Yeah. So that was one of the suggestions. The other suggestion was at the end of, I think it's North Way. So at the end of where the Pack and Save is. So, yeah, and that's a council reserve as well.
Because of the river and down to do with the river and the drainage and the stuff like that.
So they said no to that one as well. So yeah, I would maybe ask again if it can go in the road reserve. We also met with Eddie Aiken, who is one of the owners down at the corner there. There's an ITM and Folders. He was the owner down on the corner there. Yeah. So, but they didn't really want to give a lot of their sites well. They just wanted the frontage. But yeah. So there's some history for you. We've tried about 5 different places.
I'm determined to get it through this day.
Yes.
And strictly park that way, and then that strip of grass would obviously be warehouse grass, I would think. That is parking would be an obviously good place to have it right where the motorcycles are there, not on the road side, but on the side that backs that gets. We asked witnesses who understand.
So, no, I think that's what James is up to, just like, from our meeting, is going to those conversations.
So just think if it's too close to the road to get some little people running out,
So then again, through the chair, just it'll be council leasing a piece of land, good one from the warehouse. So.
Thursday,
Very complicated.
That's a good move, Trevor.
Yeah. Well, it's personal concrete.
Thank you, Chair. Is there any further discussion?
On the Mutatangi drainage, I went visiting drainage people. And the first stop was at the motor hanging drain. There's a lot of oxygen and weed in that drain. So that's one of the discussion we're going to have at the committee meetings. So I've been meeting a lot of the drainage people just to sort of touch base with them as well. So for the meetings that are coming in.
And I apologise for having to step out of that meeting because we were addressed at Te Hau by the CE. So sorry about that.
And my other question about this is who actually makes a decision on the carry forward for our open resolution page?
Thank you. That was a question I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. All of these resolutions were passed obviously in the last triennial. How do we have to ratify that in terms of? No? See.
So one of them was our footpath carry forward one.
So,
yes, I'm really clear. Council is responsible for council. So council will make do you have any plans for how that money is spent?
Okay.
Or we know or we can support staff to build the case for it to be carried forward.
Okay.
In terms of the open resolutions, it's more or less information for you. There's no ratification process. It is what you've inherited as issues moving forward. And if there are issues that you don't think should continue to be progressed, we can communicate that with staff. But like most of the fact what we can communicate with staff that it is a high priority and needs to be progressed.
That clarifies it. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, just through the chair, my question probably similar to Dale, maybe not, is some of them are really old and how do we get them off our open resolutions? So that probably is the question.
What I was going to say after the meeting or at another date, we could meet as a community board, just and just go through things similar to that and things that we've been talking about, Trevor. Just so we're on the same wavelength and we're all talking the same language. So, point noted.
The open resolution is more of a tracking sheet for you, so that if there are ongoing issues, that's communicated to get you updated on how staff are progressing to understand those decisions. If it's something that you don't want to be a part of, we can remove it. That's not a concern.
So it's probably just through the chair. I mean, my thing is if it's 2023 work streams, we should be resolving them and moving. Yeah, they should be removed because it's been sorted as opposed to just hanging around for 2 years, 3 years.
Fortunately, the drainage hasn't been resolved. That's why it's still there.
Well, let's keep the drainage on there.
It's something we can.
Yeah, I've lodged an MPS for the board through to the roading department about footpaths and your carry forwards for footpaths. So when I get a response from the roading staff about how much that budget is and when it can be spent, if we can spend it now, then I'll report back to you to hear what your priority is.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, through the chair, for example, the Taipa placemaking plan, it seems like we're it's getting carried forward and we're not getting any information back about it.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, provide adequate parking space for cars and costumes for items. Well, like those drivers have to come back to us and want that information so we can progress.
Do you want me to answer?
If you could, please, if you can.
Blair Hula handed the tourism infrastructure funding, and as part of that, additional boat parking was planned out for the second stage of that. He was the project manager that took the placemaking plan and got the funding and delivered it for that first stage. So he's done up a plan where we looked at behind the sailing club as well, which was a huge area that was not utilised well because of the orientation of some of the fencing. So there was talk about changing that. But as I said before, earlier in the meeting, it's the service level agreements between the planning team and the infrastructure delivery team that we need to get clear so that they actually do keep reporting back to us instead of it going into just a stack of priorities where the staff are deciding the priorities of what projects get delivered instead of elected members, because it's not done in a prioritised way that community boards, for example, are deciding those priorities. And there's just a rollover of a giant list of projects like Memorable was talking about and how we do our market. So if you'd like, you can contact me directly and we can follow that up, Eddie, because I know that's in your subdivision.
Just, sorry, Beth.
I basically team last week loaded it into some of the users training. I can show you with this training to be able to give you information, the stages, there is projects, things like that. I'm particular last week, which is a lot storage. And it was simply around I think that trying to pick ones to use the rest of the managed funding and specifically to certain things and certain we do have our jurisdictions, just our board.
Thank you, Bev. There's no further discussion. All those in favour? Aye. Against, abstain? Carried. Just in closing, I'd like to thank, you can talk to that. Catherine, we'll talk to you during lunch, if that's okay. But you have to go.
Yes, I do.
We'll give you. Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank all councillors and staff, and especially Moko for joining in on our meeting. Much appreciated. Good to see your happy, smiling face. Thank you very much, and enjoy yourself in the, I was going to say in the panel at home. Mike, if I can call on you to close our meeting with the karakia, thank you.
Te newa e te tuakana Aaron. I rungi tō tanga mai ki wana ni e tātou te mea no te reo uri ki runga I a koe ki tēnei ki tō te ko teika. Wenu te reo tō ki tēnei kainga o tātou awa ni. Wenu e karanga ki atu tā tātou nei tō tanga mai taki. Ino e ati kia koe. Mai koe tātou karakia e whakakapi tā tātou. Tēnā.
Can we please stop the live